We today are Earth reliant. We're dependent on being on this planet. We are not a multi-planet species yet. I don't know whether Buzz is going to talk to you about it later, but Buzz and I agree on a number of things. One of them is that only multi-planet species survive for long periods of time. Here in the Western world, we think very short-sighted, and some of you have heard me say this before. We think about the time in which we're going to be on this earth, or which our kids or our grandkids are going to be on this earth. Many other civilizations think much longer than that, and we need to start thinking that way. We need to remember that we're dependent on a star. The sun is a star. And just like many other stars that we study all the time, and many of you who follow the exploits of the Hubble Space Telescope almost daily get a picture of a star that used to be but is no longer. One of these days, that's going to be the story of our star, the sun. And so if this species is to survive indefinitely, we need to become a multi-planet species. So one reason we need to go to Mars is so we can learn a little bit about living on another planet, so that when McKaylee, my granddaughter, is ready to move out of the solar system, we'll know a lot more about living away from this planet than we know today. So Mars is a stepping stone in the stepping stone approach to other solar systems and other galaxies and things that people have always dreamed of, but frequently don't talk about. So we're Earth reliant right now, and our stepping stone in the Earth reliant system is the International Space Station. I hope I don't need to remind this audience, but I will take advantage of it anyway, because I find that sometimes people don't remember. We have now been on the International Space Station continuously, without interruption, for almost 14 years. Continuously, without interruption, for almost 14 years. Everybody's excited right now because of what's going on in the Ukraine. Although I'm cautious, I am cautiously optimistic, because we went through this when the Russians went into Georgia, and station continued to operate the way it is now. We continue to operate just as we always have today, with Roscosmos and JAXA and ESA and the Canadian Space Agency and all of our partners. So the ISS continues to move on as our stepping stone to the rest of the cosmos. The proving ground is where we need to go. And so we're going to present our case to you over these next 3 days, and hopefully you will pummel us with questions. I'm having trouble with the lights, but I think I may see Michelle, are you down there? There's Michelle on the third row. So Michelle Gates is here. I don't see Gerst yet. I know Mike Gazarek was there, but you should pummel us with questions about why we chose this path. There are all kinds of ways we could go to get to Mars, to include those that some people espouse, which is just go right now. Forget about all this other stuff, just go. We don't think that that's the right idea. So we don't think we can just go, but we need to take a measured approach as we go. And so we've chosen an asteroid and lunar orbit as our proving ground, where we can develop the technologies we need to make it the distance to Mars. We can learn how to operate in that environment, because Mars will probably not be like, Mars and its moons will probably not be like operating in low Earth orbit. We're accustomed to, I tell people, I give them the example of when I was a young snotty-nosed astronaut candidate, and I was one once. And I remember going to the Johnson Space Center, and the first time they said, okay, you're going to have a class in orbital mechanics, and then you're going to go over to the simulator, and you're going to fly a rendezvous and learn how to rendezvous and dock. And I said, piece of cake. I've been flying airplanes for 14 years now. I've got, I don't know what I had, several thousand hours. I don't need to learn any of this rendezvous stuff. All you got to do is put your nose on the airplane that you want to rendezvous with and just go. And so first time I got in the simulator, the instructors, they didn't push back. They just said, okay, another little snotty-nosed kid who thinks he knows everything, we'll let him see. And so I got in the shuttle mission simulator and off in the shuttle to rendezvous with a station or something, and I didn't come within hundreds of miles. And it was because I was flying an airplane in the atmosphere that didn't have to worry about orbital mechanics or any of that stuff. And, it seemed like the more I fought to get there, the farther I got away. And then I learned a little bit about orbital mechanics and, how you have to do stuff. Well, when we go to Mars, we're going to find the same problem. It is not like flying in low Earth orbit. We already know that. What we don't know is what is it like flying. So we're going to use rendezvous and approach to an asteroid in lunar orbit, which is a little bit less than our gravity, to try to figure out how do we maneuver out there. And then we're going to, in a stepping stone manner, go out and probably maneuver around the moons of Mars and then figure out, okay, how do we finally get down to the planet safely with human beings? So that's sort of what we talk about, the proving ground, and then on to being Mars ready. And we think right now, with some modest increases in NASA's budget over the years, we're going to be able to get to Mars in the 2030s, as President Obama asked us, actually didn't ask. He doesn't ask us to do anything. He just tells us. And then we make it happen.